Captain Hayes walked through the long hallway of the Prime Space Station. The walls around him glowed with soft blue light. His uniform showed the emblem of Earth, a small symbol that many of the older alien species still did not fully recognize. Beside him walked Ambassador Diana Brooks. Her face was calm and professional. They both had smiles ready for the day ahead. The Galactic Council chamber was enormous. The ceiling stretched high above, and the walls displayed the symbols of every species that had joined the Council over the past 3,000 years. Today was another meeting where small disputes would be solved and peace would be kept. The Council had not seen real war in so long that many members wondered if war was even possible anymore. And Diana took their seats at the human station. Around them sat representatives from dozens of species. Was there, his scales shining green and gold. Elder sat perfectly still, his form standing rigid as always. Representative radiated a soft light from his crystalline structure. These were powerful beings who had controlled peace for. The first case concerned the Collective and the Union. Both wanted to mine the same asteroid field for rare minerals. The argument had gone on for weeks. The wanted exclusive rights. The demanded to share the resources. Suggested they split the asteroid field in half. Elder agreed but said this would take months to organize. Raised his hand and asked to speak. Everyone turned to look at him. Humans were new to the Council. Many aliens still watched them carefully to see what they would do. Stood and explained a different idea. He said both species could mine different minerals from the same asteroids, the preferred heavy metals, the needed lighter elements. If they worked together instead of fighting, they could both get what they wanted faster. They would also save money by sharing equipment and workers. The room became quiet, tilted his head. Elder Santeni moved slightly. After a few moments, both the and representatives agreed. The problem was solved in minutes instead of months. Diana smiled politely and added that humans had always believed in finding answers where everyone wins. She said humans understood that cooperation was stronger than competition. The Council members made sounds of approval. They seemed pleased that humanity was thinking the way they did. More cases came and went. A dispute about communication frequencies, a disagreement about trade taxes. Each time the humans offered solutions that made both sides happy. By the end of the meeting, made an announcement. He said the Council was impressed by humanity's peaceful approach. He said humans showed wisdom and maturity. He said that humanity would be a welcome addition to the Council family. The other representatives made sounds of agreement. After the meeting ended, the Council held a social gathering in the observation lounge. Large windows looked out onto the stars. Food and drinks from 100 different worlds were offered. Aliens from many species stood together, speaking and sharing stories. And Diana moved through the crowd, approached them first. "Your species shows great promise," said. "In all my years I have seen many young species join the Council. Most arrive with fear and anger, but humans arrive with patience and understanding. This is very rare." "Thank you," said with a slight bow. "We believe that peace is always the better choice." Diana added, "On our world, we learned long ago that violence only creates more problems. We chose a different path and it brought us here." Elder joined them. His face could not show emotion the way humans could, but his movements seemed warm and friendly. "I have lived for 10,000 years, Elder said. "I have watched civilizations grow and fall. The ones that survived were the ones that chose dialogue over conflict. Humanity has chosen correctly." Representative came to them as well, his crystalline form catching the light in beautiful patterns. "We have a question," said. "Your people have only recently developed space travel, yet you show no fear of the larger universe. You show no need to dominate. This is unusual. Why is this so?" Diana thought for a moment. She wanted to give a good answer. "We come from a difficult world," she said. "Earth is dangerous. There are storms and earthquakes and many predators. We learned that we could not win by being the strongest. We had to be We learned to work together. We learned to help each other. We learned to value every life, even the lives of those different from us. That is what made us strong enough to reach space." The Council members seemed satisfied with this answer. They continued talking with and Diana for some time. They asked about human culture. They asked about human history. They seemed truly interested in learning more. As the gathering continued, more representatives came to speak with the humans. All of them said similar things. Humanity was peaceful. Humanity was wise. Humanity was exactly the kind of species the Council needed. and Diana accepted these compliments with quiet smiles and humble words. The gathering lasted several hours. When it finally ended and Diana walked back through the station corridors, they felt tired but satisfied. Their first major council meeting had gone perfectly. They were walking toward their quarters when Diana's communication device made a sudden sound. An alert message appeared on her screen. Both of them stopped walking. The message came from very far away, from the outer rim of known space. It was a distress call. The message said, "Haven Station calling for help. Unknown vessels approaching. We need immediate assistance. Please respond." Looked at Diana with concern. Diana already had her communication device open, trying to get more information. The signal was weak and broken. They could only catch parts of the message. "We need to tell the council," said. They hurried back to the main chamber. They found several council members still there. They showed them the distress message from Haven Station. Haven Station was a human colony in the outer rim. It had 3,000 people living there, including many children. Looked at the message and then at. "This is likely a technical problem," said calmly. "New colonies often experience equipment failures. We can investigate this during the next session. For now, I suggest you try to re-establish communication with the colony." "But they are asking for help now," said. "Should we not send someone immediately?" "The outer rim is very far away," Elder said. "Any response would take days to arrive. The council has protocols for such situations. We will review this matter thoroughly and take appropriate action." Diana wanted to argue, but she knew it would do no good. The Council Haven Station orbited a small blue planet in a system far from Council space. The station had been built 7 years ago. 3,000 humans lived there. Farmers grew food in large agricultural domes. Engineers maintained the equipment. Families raised their children in the habitats. Scientists studied the local world and sent reports back to Earth. It was a quiet colony. It was a peaceful colony. And then the ships came. Governor Wells stood in the command center. She looked at the sensor display. 12 large objects had entered the system 4 days ago. They did not respond to any communication attempts. They simply watched. They watched everything. Had been in charge of Haven Station for 5 years. She was a strong leader. She had kept the colony safe and prosperous. But she had never dealt with this. Nobody had ever told her what to do if unknown aliens arrived and simply watched. "Have we sent another message to the council?" she asked. Looked up from her engineering console. Was a brilliant engineer who had designed many of the station's systems. 3 messages, said. All flagged as urgent, but the outer rim has poor communication. Even if they get the messages, it will take a week to get a response. Captain Grant entered the command center. Was the military commander, though the word military seemed strange to him. Haven Station had only 10 soldiers and 4 small defense guns. They were meant for emergencies only. The council did not believe in war, so nobody expected to need much more. "The ships are still in the same positions," said. "They are not approaching, they are not attacking, they are just there." Made a decision. Move all non-essential personnel to the lower sections. Keep the agricultural domes operating normally. We do not want to appear frightened, but we want everyone away from the outer walls just in case. For 2 more days, the ships stayed in orbit. Nobody on Haven Station slept well. The children could feel the tension even if the adults tried to hide it. The unknown vessels continued to observe, continue to watch, continue to wait. Then, without any warning, everything changed. The attack came at dawn. The first strike hit the communication array directly. The explosion lit up the station. The second strike damaged the power distribution center. The third strike targeted the defense guns. Within 30 seconds, Haven Station had lost its ability to call for help and lost its ability to fight back. Was thrown to the ground by the force of the explosions. Alarms screamed everywhere. The red emergency lights blinked on and off. People screamed. Children cried. "Get everyone to the bunkers," shouted. "Now." Was already moving. He pushed people toward the corridors that led underground, made her way to the engineering section to see if anything could be salvaged. The bunkers were deep in the rock beneath the station. They had been built in case of meteor strikes or equipment failures. Now they would be used for their real purpose, protecting people from attackers. Counted the people as they came in, families, children, workers, scientists. 1,500 people huddled together in the underground tunnels, but the numbers were wrong. People were missing. "Where is the agricultural team?" asked. "Still in the domes," someone answered. "They did not get the warning in time." "The children from the education center?" asked again. "I do not know," another voice said. "They were in the upper sections." Felt ice in her chest. The upper sections had been damaged the most. Outside the bunkers in the clear areas of Haven Station, the harvesters moved through the corridors. They were not like any alien species the humans had ever seen. Their bodies were smooth and gray. They had many limbs and no visible faces. They moved with purpose and efficiency. They took people. They grabbed anyone they could find. They took farmers from the agricultural dome. They took children from the education center. They took workers and engineers and anyone else who could not reach the bunkers. Watched from a damaged maintenance passage as the harvesters took her friend. She watched as they took Jennifer and her 2 children. She watched as they loaded everyone into transport vessels. The aliens were picking and choosing. They were selecting specific people. They seemed to be taking mostly younger people, strong people, people in good health. Sent a message through the station's backup system. It was not much. The main communication array was destroyed, but she managed to route the signal through an old emergency beacon that most people had forgotten about. The signal was weak. The message was broken and confused, but it went out into space. "This is Haven Station. We are under attack. Unknown alien species. They are taking our people. Approximately 800 missing, many dead. Request immediate assistance. Request immediate assistance." The signal repeated again and again. It was weak. It might not reach anyone, but had done everything she could. In the command center, Captain Grant made sure everyone in the bunker was safe. Then he walked to the window. The harvesters were nearly done. The transport vessels were full. One by one, the alien ships began to move. They were leaving. They were taking 800 people with them. Among the missing were 523 children. Found at the window. She already knew the answer to her question before she asked it, but she asked anyway. "How many?" she said quietly. "I count 47 of our children visible in the last transport," said. "But there were hundreds more in the education center. We do not know how many they took from there." Turned away, she did not want to see her face. She did not want him to see the rage building inside her. She had chosen to work for the council. She had chosen peace. She had believed in the council's promise that peace kept everyone safe. The harvesters jumped to faster-than-light speed and disappeared. Back at the Prime Station, and Diana received the final message from Haven Station. It came through the old emergency beacon, weak and broken, but it was enough. They heard about the attack. They heard about the people taken. They heard about the children missing. Read the casualty numbers twice to make sure he understood correctly. He felt something inside him break. Something that had always been calm and diplomatic suddenly became very, very angry. Diana received the same information. She sat down slowly. 1,500 children in the education center. 523 confirmed missing. How many more? When the emergency council session was called and Diana presented the information, they asked for immediate military response. They asked for ships to pursue the harvesters. But the council moved slowly. They wanted more information. They wanted to know who the harvesters were. They wanted to understand the situation better. Some argued that helping a junior member was their duty. Others suggested more investigation first. By the time the council reached a decision to investigate, it was too late. The harvesters were already too far away. And Diana sat in their quarters and watched the stars through the window. Hands were clenched. Diana stared without blinking. "We made a choice," said quietly. "We chose to be peaceful. We came to this council promising peace." "But they took children," Diana said. Her voice was steady, but it was the emergency council session began with standing before the chamber. His face was different now. The polite smile was gone. The calm diplomat had been replaced by something harder and colder. "We have received the final casualty report from Haven Station," said. His voice was flat. 800 colonists have been taken. 400 are confirmed dead. 530 children are missing. The council received this information 18 hours ago and did nothing. Tried to speak but raised his hand. "I am not finished," said. "The council chose to wait. The council chose to investigate slowly. The council chose to follow procedure while people died and children were stolen. This ends now." Slammed his fist on the table. The sound echoed through the chamber. Every representative jumped. None of them had ever seen a human express anger like this. The polite species was not polite anymore. Humanity is invoking Article 7 of the Charter, said. His eyes were hard and steady. We are taking action now. Diana stood beside him. Her voice was calm, but it carried the weight of a mother whose children had been taken. The Council has had thousands of years to become strong through peace, Diana said. But strength that does nothing when children are murdered is not strength. It is weakness. Humanity will not be weak. Humanity will not stand by while our children suffer. This is against Council protocol. We must investigate first. We must understand the situation. We understand it perfectly, Diana said. Unknown aliens came to our colony and took our people. That is all the understanding we need. That is all the justification we need. Elder raised his antennae. But the harvesters have not attacked Council space. They have not violated any established laws. To respond with military force against a species that has not attacked us directly would be wrong. Leaned forward. Then you have learned nothing about what it means to be strong. A species that will attack the innocent will attack anyone. The harvesters have shown what they are. We will show them what we are. Humanity cannot stand alone against a species we know nothing about, Representative said. His crystal form flickered with concern. This is suicide. Diana smiled. It was not a friendly smile. You are right about one thing. Humanity cannot stand alone, but we do not intend to stand alone because we were never alone. We have been keeping things hidden from the Council, things we hoped we would never need. She activated a display. Ships appeared on the screen, not the small ships that the Council knew about. These were battleships, carriers, destroyers, long-range fighters and bombers. Humanity had been building them in secret for 5 years. Hidden in lunar facilities, hidden in orbital shipyards far from Council observation. The Council members made sounds of shock. Representatives' crystal surface flashed with colors that indicated distress. This is a violation of the peace accords, said loudly. You were required to report all military construction. We were required to report to the Council only what we developed after joining, said. These ships were built before we joined. They were built for protection, for defense. Not offense. We hoped we would never need them. We were wrong to hope. I am contacting Earth now, continued. Admiral Stephen Mitchell is being activated. The human fleet is being mobilized. We are going to find the harvesters. We are going to take back our people. We are going to make sure they never take anyone else. Diana added, any attempt by the Council to stop us will be considered an act of aggression against humanity. We do not wish for that to happen, but we will not hesitate. The Council chamber became very quiet. Everyone understood that this was different. This was a species that had kept its weapons hidden, a species that had made a choice to be peaceful as long as peace was possible, but now that choice had changed. Spoke again, but his voice was less certain. What do you intend to do if you find the harvesters? We intend to retrieve our people, said. Alive. If the harvesters resist, we will destroy them. If the harvesters surrender, they will face Council judgment for their crimes. And if some of your people are already dead? Elder asked. His jaw tightened. Then we will ensure that the harvesters answer for that. Every single death will be answered for. And Diana turned and walked out of the chamber. They did not wait for permission. They did not wait for further discussion. They simply left, and the silence behind them felt heavy and terrible. Back on Earth, Admiral Stephen Mitchell received the activation order. He sat in the Lunar Command Center and read the message. His face showed no emotion, but he began to work immediately. Calls went out. Orders were given. Messages were sent to hidden bases across the solar system. Stand down all non-essential operations, he told his staff. Full mobilization for deep space operations. I want every combat-ready ship launched within 20 hours. Yes, sir, his commander said. Destination. We do not know yet, Admiral Mitchell said. But we have 800 people taken. 530 of them are children. We will find them and we will bring them home. At the Prime Station began gathering intelligence. He worked with human analysts who had been waiting for this moment. They mapped jump points. They analyzed the harvester's trajectory. They calculated possible routes and likely destinations. Diana spoke with late into the night in their quarters. Do you think we can succeed? Diana asked. Do you think we can actually find them? I do not know, said honestly. But we have to try. We have been peaceful because we believed it was right. We still believe that. But we also believe that protecting our children is right, that justice is right. The Council has been peaceful for so long that they have forgotten what it costs. They have forgotten what it means to have something worth fighting for. We are going to change everything, Diana said. After this, humanity will never be the same in the eyes of the Council. They will never trust us the way they did. No, agreed. They will not. They will respect us instead. There is a difference. 2 hours later, the first human battleship left Earth orbit. It was followed by another. The Harvester fleet moved through space at a steady pace. They had taken their prisoners. They had completed their mission. Now they simply needed to return to their home territory. They did not hurry. They had never encountered resistance. They did not expect resistance. Inside, the main transport vessel sat with other colonists in a holding area. The room was cold. The walls were metal. Guards stood at the exits. Nobody tried to run. Where would they go? They were in the middle of space. Observed everything. She noticed how the guards moved. She noticed the rhythm of their patrol. She noticed that there were patterns to everything, systems. If there were systems, there might be weaknesses. Pass it on, whispered to the person next to her. Tell everyone to do nothing, act defeated, be quiet, watch and listen. We wait for our opportunity. The message spread through the colonists like ripples in water. People who wanted to fight were told to be patient. People who wanted to run were told to wait. Everyone understood one simple truth. Escape in space was impossible, but if they were brought somewhere else, there might be a chance. Elsewhere in the Harvester fleet, the command intelligence studied the data from Haven Station. The humans had been classified as a peaceful species. The humans had shown no military resistance. This meant that the capture would have been easy. The command intelligence was satisfied. But something should have made the command intelligence worry. Something should have made it question its assumptions. The humans had not resisted physically. But the colony had tried very hard to send distress signals. They had tried to communicate. They had tried to call for help. A species that was truly peaceful would not try so hard to call for help from warriors. That fact should have been noticed. It was not. When Admiral Stephen Mitchell received the exact coordinates of the Harvester fleet, he made a decision. The human ships would not attack directly. They would shadow the Harvesters. They would track them. They would wait for the right moment. Humans had learned strategy from 5,000 years of warfare. Patience was a weapon. The human fleet caught up to the Harvesters at a place called the Junction. It was a narrow passage through space-time where ships could not move at full speed. They had to slow down. This was exactly where Admiral Mitchell wanted to fight. The human ships emerged from behind false sensor readings. They had been cloaked for days, using technology that the Harvesters did not have. The first Harvester ship never knew what hit it. 3 human battleships opened fire at once. The alien vessel broke apart and was destroyed before it could send a warning. The second and third Harvester ships detected the attack and tried to move to attack formation. They were slow. Human pilots were not slow. 6 human fighter ships moved with incredible speed and precision. They had been built to fight. They had pilots who had trained their whole lives for moments exactly like this. The Harvesters fought back. They were not defenseless. They had weapons. They had armor. But they were not prepared for coordinated attacks from multiple directions. They were not prepared for an enemy that could move faster and think faster. Admiral Mitchell watched from the bridge as his fleet attacked. He was calm. He was focused. He was doing exactly what he had been trained to do. Target the rear vessels first, he ordered. Do not let them jump to light speed. I want them boxed in. His pilots responded immediately. The battle was hard, but it was not a fair fight. The Harvesters had superior numbers, but they did not have experience. They did not have coordination. They had conquered weak species. They had never fought something like humanity. Within 2 hours, the Harvesters had lost 5 ships. They were losing more. They tried to run. Admiral Mitchell ordered his faster ships to cut off their escape routes. The Harvesters found themselves surrounded. On the flagship of the Harvester fleet, the command intelligence made a decision. It ordered the remaining ships to assault the human fleet with everything they had. It did not understand yet that it had already lost. It still believed that superior numbers would win. The command intelligence was wrong. Inside the transport vessel where and the other colonists were being held, the ship rocked with explosions. Alarms sounded everywhere. The guards looked nervous now. They had not expected a battle. Stood up now, she said to the other colonists. They are distracted, now is when we move. The colonists did not fight the guards. They were not strong enough to win a direct fight. Instead, they pushed. They moved toward the exits in a group. They were simply trying to move. The guards were confused. They had orders to keep prisoners contained, but there was a battle happening. They had to make a choice between stopping the prisoners and helping with the battle. The guards chose to leave. They went to battle stations. The prisoners were left mostly unguarded. Led a group through the corridors. She knew where the engineering section would be. She knew where the main systems would be. She had been an engineer on Haven Station. She understood how ships worked. When she reached the engineering section, she found only 2 harvesters there. They were monitoring systems and trying to keep the ship together during the battle, and her group moved quickly and quietly. They did not try to fight. They did not try to be heroes. They simply moved behind the harvesters and used tools and cables to disable them without killing them. The fight was over quickly and silently. Access the main computer terminal. She did not have the codes to shut down the ship, but she could do something else. She could introduce errors, small errors, cascading problems, nothing obvious, just gradual failures that would add up. Nothing that would alert the command to sabotage, just mechanical failures. She worked quickly, minutes felt like hours. "Will this help?" asked Jennifer, one of the colonists with. "It will slow them down," said. "It will make them weaker, that is all we can do." Outside, the human fleet was winning. The harvesters had lost half their ships. They were retreating toward a small asteroid cluster. Admiral Mitchell had anticipated this. Human ships moved to block the retreat route. The harvesters' command intelligence finally understood. It had made a critical error. It had underestimated its opponent. Now the price of that error was death. Hundreds of harvester warriors were about to die because it had not understood what humans were. "This is Admiral Mitchell of the Earth Defense Fleet," came a message sent across all harvester communication channels. "Your fleet is surrounded. Your escape routes are blocked. You have 2 choices. You surrender immediately and release all prisoners, or we destroy every remaining vessel. You have 10 minutes to decide." The command intelligence processed this information. It ran thousands of calculations. It analyzed every possible outcome, and it came to a conclusion that should have been obvious from the beginning. It had lost. "All ships," the command intelligence broadcast. "Power down weapons, prepare for boarding by the human vessels, release all prisoners, follow all human instructions." The harvester fleet stopped fighting. Admiral Mitchell received the surrender order. He allowed himself a single nod of satisfaction. Then he started giving orders for rescue operations. "Get every medical team to those transport vessels," he said. "I want every prisoner accounted for. I want every human brought aboard our ships immediately." The human rescue vessels moved in quickly. They docked with the harvester ships. Colonists began to move out of their holds and into freedom. Found her sister Maria in one of the corridors. They held each other without saying anything. There were no words. There was only relief. There was only the knowledge that they had survived. On the harvester flagship, Admiral Mitchell personally met with the command intelligence. The alien was detained and secured. It would face justice. It would answer for what it had done. "We are looking for some specific prisoners," Admiral Mitchell said to the command intelligence. "Colonists from Haven Station, specifically children from the education center." The command intelligence provided coordinates. The children were in a holding area deep in the ship. They were still alive. They were scared, but they were alive. When the first rescue workers entered the children's holding area, the children did not understand at first. They had been taken by aliens. They had been scared. Now humans were coming to get them. But to the children, anyone could have been dangerous. Then one of the rescue workers removed their helmet. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so full. Every representative from every member species had come for this session. They had heard the stories. They had heard that humanity had fought and won. They had heard that human ships were faster and more powerful than anyone had believed. They had heard that humans were no longer the peaceful species they thought they knew. Hayes and Diana Brooks entered the chamber. Behind them came Admiral Stephen Mitchell in his dress uniform. The human delegation was no longer quiet and humble. They walked with the confidence of warriors. The chamber fell silent as the humans took their places. Stood to speak. "We have received reports of the engagement in the Outer Rim. We have heard that humanity defeated a hostile alien force. We have heard that all human prisoners were recovered. We wish to understand how this occurred and what it means. Began to speak. His voice was clear and strong. 4 days ago, the species known as the Harvesters attacked Haven Station without warning. They killed 400 colonists. They took 800 more, including 530 children. The Galactic Council received distress messages and chose to wait, chose to investigate, chose to follow procedure instead of acting quickly. He paused and let this statement sink in. Humanity did not choose to wait. We had prepared for this kind of situation. We had developed military capabilities that we had kept hidden from the Council. We believed we would never need them. We hoped we would never need them. But when our children were taken, we activated those capabilities. We deployed our fleet. We tracked the Harvesters. We engaged them. We defeated them. We recovered every single one of our people. But this violates the peace accords, Representative said. His crystal form flickered with uncertainty. You were not authorized to take military action. We invoked Article 7, Diana said calmly. The Council's own charter allows member species to pursue military action against hostile forces if diplomatic channels fail. The Harvesters were a hostile force. The Council chose not to act. We chose to act. We did nothing illegal. Elder stood. But you were deceptive. You hid your military capability. You did not tell the Council about your ships. We were deceptive only about our own weapons, replied. We were honest about our desire for peace. We were honest about our commitment to the Council. We asked only to keep some defense capabilities secret, the same way that all of you have secret military assets that the junior members do not know about. The chamber became quiet, had pointed out a truth that everyone knew but nobody wanted to admit. The older species all had hidden weapons. They all had secret military capabilities. They had simply assumed that a young species would not dare to do the same. The question now is not whether we violated the accords, continued. The question now is what the Council will do with the Harvesters we have captured. They committed crimes against humanity. They killed our people. They stole our children. They will face justice. Looked uncomfortable. The Harvesters are not known to the Council. We do not know their species. We do not know their laws or their customs. We cannot simply execute them. We are not asking for execution, Diana said. We are asking for trial. We are asking for justice. The Council claims to believe in justice. Yes, prove it. Hold a trial. Listen to the evidence. Let the Harvesters defend themselves if they can, and then decide what should be done with them. The chamber erupted in discussion. Species representatives talked to each other in dozens of different languages. Some supported humanity. Some opposed them. Some were uncertain. The Peaceful Council was learning that justice was more complicated than they had believed. After 3 hours of debate, the Council agreed. A trial would be held. Evidence would be presented. The Harvesters would be given a chance to speak in their defense. 2 weeks later, the trial began. About the attack, she described how the Harvesters had taken people at random. She described how they had separated children from their parents. She described the fear she had seen in the colonists' faces. About how he had kept the children calm while they were prisoners. He described the cold rooms. He described the fear the children had experienced. He described the day they thought they would never see their families again. Governor Wells about the destruction of Haven Station. She described the colonists who had died. She described the equipment that had been destroyed. She described the feeling of helplessness when the Council had done nothing to help. The Harvester Command Intelligence was given the opportunity to speak. It tried to explain that humans were simply resources to be harvested. It said that the Harvesters had the right to take what they needed from lower species. It showed no remorse. It showed no understanding of right or wrong. It simply believed that it had the power to take, and that was enough. Hearing this made very angry, but he kept his anger controlled. He let the evidence speak for itself. After 3 weeks of testimony, the Council voted on the verdict. The Harvesters were found guilty of crimes against sentient beings. They were found guilty of murder. They were found guilty of kidnapping. They were sentenced to life imprisonment on a remote Council detention facility. They would never be released. They would never return to their home territory. Humanity accepted this verdict. It was justice, even if it was not the harshest punishment possible. Had wanted more, but he understood that compromise was still necessary. The Council had proven that it could act justly when it was forced to. That was something. The trial ended. The Harvesters were taken away in holding vessels. The council members who had voted for the guilty verdict felt satisfied that justice had been done. The council members who had voted for leniency felt satisfied that mercy had been shown. Everyone had gotten what they wanted except the harvesters. But the most important moment came after the trial ended, approached in the chamber corridor. "I owe you an acknowledgement," said. "We failed you. We failed your people. We believed that being peaceful meant being weak. We believed that avoiding violence meant we could avoid responsibility. We were wrong." "You were not wrong about peace," said. "Peace is still the better way. What you were wrong about is believing that peace makes you safe. Peace is only safe if everyone chooses it. When someone chooses violence, you must be strong enough to respond." Nodded slowly. "This is a lesson we should have learned long ago. I am sorry it took human children dying for us to understand it." "Your apology is accepted," said. "But the real work starts now. The council must decide what it is going to do to prevent this from happening again. Stronger response protocols, better communication systems, more willingness to act quickly when danger appears." "Humanity will help in these efforts?" Diana asked, joining them. "Yes," said. "Humanity will help. Humanity has shown that you are more than diplomats. You are warriors. You are protectors. The council needs both. The council needs your strength." Back on Haven Station, the colonists began the process of rebuilding. New buildings rose from the rubble. Damaged equipment was replaced. The agriculture domes were restored. Life began to return to normal. But something had changed forever. Governor Wells stood in the memorial garden. A monument had been built for the colonists who had died in the attack. 127 names were carved into the stone. They were names of people who had been killed by the harvesters. They were names of the price that had been paid for safety. Placed her hand on the stone. She whispered a prayer for the dead. She whispered thanks for the living. She whispered a promise that what had happened would never be forgotten. The memorial also included something else. A section dedicated to the 50 children who had not survived their captivity. Some had become sick. Some had been injured during the rescue operations. Some had simply been too young and too fragile to survive what had happened to them. Their names were also there, a permanent reminder of what the colony had lost. On Earth, Admiral Stephen Mitchell addressed the human military forces. The fleet had returned home. The ships had been brought back to the shipyards, but they would not be hidden anymore. Humanity was no longer hiding its strength. "We are not a warlike species," Admiral Mitchell said to the assembled officers. "We have fought only when we had to fight. We have killed only because we had to kill, but we have proven that we can fight. We have proven that we can win. Going forward, the galaxy will know this about humanity, not that we are weak because we are peaceful, but that we are strong enough to choose peace. That is the message we send to the stars." In the Prime Station, and Diana walked together through the corridors one last time. They had been recalled to Earth. They would be leaving Council space and returning to their home planet. "We changed everything," Diana said. "The Council will never see things the way they did before." "We did not change everything," said. "The harvesters changed everything when they attacked. We simply responded. We showed that there are consequences when you attack innocent people." They reached an observation window. The stars spread out below them, infinite and beautiful. "Do you regret giving up being a diplomat?" Diana asked. Thought about this for a long moment. "No," he said finally. "Being a diplomat was important, but so is being a warrior when you need to be. I am grateful that I could be both. The galaxy needs both kinds of people, the kind who negotiate and the kind who fight. Humanity has both." "What happens now?" Diana asked. "Now we go home," said. "We rebuild Haven Station. We make sure our children grow up knowing that we protected them. We continue to work with the Council on their peace efforts. But we also continue to keep our military strong, because the galaxy is not as peaceful as it seems." They stood at the window together, watching the stars. Behind them, the Galactic Council continued its work of maintaining peace. But it was a different council now. It was a council that understood that peace required strength. It was a council that had learned that being peaceful did not mean being helpless. And humanity had taught it that lesson. Not with words, not with diplomacy, not with compromise, but with steel and determination and the willingness to fight for what mattered most. The galaxy had learned what humans could be. The humans who seemed so polite and so gentle and so easy to ignore had revealed a different side. A side that was willing to face any enemy. A side that would protect their own at any cost. a side that understood that sometimes, to preserve peace, you have to be willing to wage war. And Diana left the observation window and made their way to the docking bay. Their ship was waiting. It would take them home to Earth. Behind them, the Prime Station continued its work. The Council continued its meetings. The galaxy continued its rotation around the distant stars. But everything had changed. The peaceful species had become something more. The humans who had been underestimated had proven exactly how wrong that underestimation had been. And in the darkness of space, a message was being sent across every channel and through every network. The message was simple. The message was clear. It said, do not mistake peace for weakness. Do not mistake gentleness for fear. Do not take human children, because if you do, you will discover that humans are not as polite as you thought. This message would echo through the galaxy for centuries to come. This message would change everything. It was one of the educators from Haven Station. He was alive. He had been with the children the whole time, and the harvesters had not separated him from them. He had kept them calm. He had told them that help was coming. He had told them to be brave. "It is okay," said to the children. "We are going home." The children began to cry. The rescue workers embraced them. These were the youngest members of human civilization. They had been taken by monsters, but now they were being brought home. Admiral Mitchell made his report to Hayes at the Prime Station. "We have recovered all 800 colonists," Admiral Mitchell said. "We have 535 children. They are all alive. They are all safe. The harvesters have surrendered their entire fleet. No more human lives have been lost." Listen to this report. He sat quietly for a moment. Diana stood beside him. Her eyes were shining with tears. "Good work, Admiral," said finally. "Bring them home. Bring them all home." The human fleet turned around. It did not need to chase anymore. It had found what it was looking for. It had saved what needed to be saved. Behind them, the defeated harvester fleet was being escorted to Council space by human warships. The hunters had become the hunted. The captured had become the victors. And humanity had shown exactly what they were capable of. And another, by the end of the day, a fleet of 20 ships was heading into deep space. The ships moved faster than anything the Council had seen from a junior member species. They moved with purpose. They moved with determination. They moved toward what they had sworn to find. Admiral Stephen Mitchell stood on the bridge of the flagship and watched the stars ahead. On the communication channel, Hayes gave him the latest coordinates, the trajectory, the estimated position of the harvesters. "We are coming," Admiral Mitchell said quietly. "Hold on, Haven Station, we are coming." The human fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed. And behind them, at the Prime Station, the Council members sat in silence. They understood now that they had made a terrible mistake. They had believed humanity was weak because humanity had chosen not to fight. They had learned that there was a difference between choosing not to fight and being unable to fight. They had learned that humanity could fight very, very well when they needed to. And they had learned that the age of the peaceful galaxy had just ended. The steady voice of someone holding onto control with everything they had. Stood up, he walked to the communication system. He began to send a message to Earth, to Admiral Stephen Mitchell, to the military command that humans had kept hidden from the Council. The message was simple. "They have taken our children. Activate the protocols. Mobilize the fleet. We are done being patient." Diana watched him. She knew this moment. This was the moment when humanity's choice changed. This was the moment when the peaceful species decided to show exactly what they could do when they became angry. The age of human diplomacy was ending. The age of human justice was beginning. They'd been at peace for so long that they did not move quickly. They did not see danger where there was no proof of danger. Sending ships to the outer rim would take too long anyway. And Diana returned to their quarters. They tried to contact Haven Station again. The signal remained broken and weak. For hours they tried, but the connection would not improve. Eventually, exhaustion took over. They had to rest. Neither of them knew that this would be the last message they would ever receive from Haven Station. They would wake the next morning to news that would change everything.